Y'all like inspiration? Y'all like motivation?
Denise Camille.
Y'all like inhalation?
Denise Camille.
Y'all know I gotta make up a few words here and there, but who y'all here with?
Ventilation and Denise Camille.
Under the act.
Act.
But we not playing no games.
We're not into games. We don't like Sega, PlayStation, or Xbox.
So y'all here with Dilate the Dialogue with Denise Camille.
Dilate the dialogue.
We gotta open up, not them legs, but the mind.
Denise Camille.
Cause I know y'all trying to find y'all strength.
Denise Camille.
Intertwined with the life of me.
Denise Camille.
Greetings, everyone. Greetings. Y'all here with another episode of Dilate to Dialogue with the one and only Denise Camille. How y'all doing today? How's everybody? It is a warm winter day. I know we're in March. It is 2024. We're in March. And, the days are kind of gloomy, but warm, but gloomy, but warm. But we're like, okay, we're going to throw a little sweater on. I don't know what's going on over here today with this, what they call that? Strawberry bush? Don't get me to start lying, y'all. Okay. How y'all doing? I was looking at my apparel, Why Struggle. We got the Why Struggle apparel line. We got the Denise Camille hairline. We got the Self-Awareness Oracle deck. We got the books, the most recent one, Urban Life with Love. Y'all check out my website, denisecamille.com, DENIECE-CAMILLE.com. Check out my YouTube channel. I post sometimes in my other places of, thought when I go to the mountains, and y'all know I just hang out in that water. I just be. Today's another day, right? Today's topic. Let's jump into this topic, and I'm going to do a little bit of definitions. Today's topic is, what the hell? Why surrender to your suffering? Like I need a chiropractic adjustment for that one. Why surrender to your suffering? I feel like I did that one, but I don't think I did. So let's jump into these definitions. Let's define surrender, right? Surrender is to cease resistance to an enemy or opponent and submit to their authority. I'm going to read it again. The verb of surrender is cease resistance to an enemy or opponent and submit to their authority, right? That's surrender. Now we could define suffering, right? All right, hold on. Got the school trying to call me like, I know where my kids are. So suffering is the state of undergoing pain, distress, or hardship. Okay. What? Suffering, the state of undergoing pain, distress, or hardship. Now, that quote, why surrender to your suffering, that definitely came from a place of, I almost want to say just the word lack, right? So I almost want to say that it comes from a place of lack, right? Lack of just either not knowing that there's more to life, not knowing that there's more to you, not knowing what you don't know. Sometimes you just don't know that you're in a place of suffering because you're so used to knowing it, right? And what that does to you sometimes is put you in a very complacent state of mind, a very complacent place of being, a place of just like accepting what I have is all that there is, and that's all there ever will be, right? Because in a way, that's suffering. Or I can go with the word insanity. Insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results, right? So that's like surrendering to your suffering, right? You're going insane. Yet, most of us know in order for us to gain our minds, we have to lose our minds sometimes, right? So even if you choose to say, I'm going to surrender to my suffering, you're choosing to say to yourself, I'm going to tolerate this because this is what I'm used to. Or I've gotten so comfortable in this state of being, in this state of living. Why change? Right? Why change? And yet, the two things that we have in life, we have a promise and a guarantee. We're promised death, right? We all come here. Life is so short to gain experience with spiritual beings, getting a physical experience, and then we're guaranteed change. Change is inevitable. Change is the absence of things not seen. I always say it's right behind faith. Faith is 5 letters, change is 6 letters. Yet it's getting to that place of knowing that change is where we are. Things have to change. You can't be stuck in the same complacent place and expect things not to move or things not to happen in a different way. Why change? Why, right? So I said it to say, why surrender to your suffering? Why bow down to something that is not deserving of you? And if it's a pain, if it's something that is basically hurting you, why tolerate it? As the Urban Love Therapist, as a couples counselor, I've been counseling for about over 8 years now. And some couples, some individuals suffer. And let them tell it. That's what they have to do in order for this to work. Yet, me coming in on the mediator kind of aspect of the non-biased, you don't have to tolerate something that's not for you. You don't have to suffer in silence and just think, well, this is what I signed up for in this lifetime. I'm just going to be comfortably complacent until I'm mentally dead. Right? You get what I'm saying? You're not going to physically die. Yet you have a choice. Yet surrendering to suffering. Some people go into a relationship thinking they have to forfeit their rights. They're surrendering to suffering. And when I say forfeiting their rights, they're thinking that they can't be their wholehearted self with their mate. They have to give up a lot of themselves to be in a relationship, right? Yet, do you give up anything to be yourself, for yourself? Do you surrender to suffering in self-inflicted pain? And that could be even for an example of, I give me, shit. I had a toothache, right? For a minute. It was a grip. And my best friend, my great good friend, I call her sister. She's not even a friend anymore. She's in the family line. She's like, you're nursing this tooth. And I was like, man, I really am, because I was thinking I had to find time and try to get to the dentist and blah, 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 blah. Yet I was surrendering to that suffering. I was tolerating those toothaches, and that truly is probably one of the top 5 pains, or top 3 pains that I don't wish on anybody. Because it's like it's an inner gong almost from the whole body up when it hits a nerve. And you're like, oh, yeah, trust me, I pushed out 4 children. 2 of them 3 minutes apart. A toothache ain't got nothing on that. So, and with that, I got a gift, right? I was holding 2. I was like, oh, okay, here we go. Yet, surrendering to suffering is absurd. Yet, a lot of human beings surrender to their suffering. Why give in to it? I'll even go with a relationship with a man or a couple, whatever. Because I just learned today, statistically, lesbian couples go through divorce just as high as not, if not 70% of their couples go through divorce, go through not being happy in their relationships, go through almost the exact same thing that a man and a woman go through in their relationships and their marriages. The only difference, which is the interesting part, they have a higher domestic violence rate in the lesbian couples than the man and woman couples. They have a higher rate. Okay. So either way, I said that to say, what are we surrendering to suffering for? Why do we feel that we have to tolerate somebody else's poor behavior, lack of etiquette, lack of couth, lack of class to say that we have somebody, right? Why are we surrendering to someone else's lack of? Why are we saying, I'm going to be less of me so you could be more of you and you can pounce on my pain, because it's not my purpose you're pouncing on. You're pouncing on my pain in order for me to just be here with you, to be like, oh, that's not what it was when we met. I'm hoping that we can get back to where we were, the friendship and things like that. And, you know, a lot of times we as human beings, we are suffering in silence. We're suffering in silence. I'm going to say that and I'm going to leave that there for a little bit. We'll come back for the second half and we'll dive more into that in a little bit. All right, y'all. See you on the second half. Hey, what's up, y'all? We back. Greetings. Welcome back for the second half of Dilate to Dialogue with the one and only Denise Camille, the Urban Love Therapist, Relationship and Self Coach. Today's topic on Dilate to Dialogue, what are we, episode 12, I think? Yeah. Why surrender to your suffering, right? Why surrender to your suffering? And I know we talked about on the first half where we ended it with how individuals suffer in silence in their relationships with their mates, even in their parenting styles. You know, parents, we suffer. I don't know why we allow it, yet we suffer because we sacrifice. Woo, that's the word I was looking for. Surrender your suffering because you're sacrificing self. Oh, God, there it is. Why do we sacrifice ourselves? Did you ask to be human sacrifice? Is your name Jesus? Are you on the cross? Are you being crucified for something you didn't do? Because that's basically what you're doing when you surrender to your suffering. You're sacrificing your life. You know, a lot of us as people don't come out of our sufferings until years later, and then we then decide to live our best life. You know, we tolerate, we put up with, I don't even know what we hold on to because our spirit's been yelling at us like, get out now. Do not collect 200, just go. You know what I'm saying? Why do we choose to suffer? And it goes back to our lack. We're lacking our voice. We're lacking to know what our worth is. We're lacking to know who we are and whose we are. A lot of us don't even know who we are in the spirit realm. And I'm going to go there because I'm going to tell you every time the spirit realm is more real than the physical. We are just getting a human experience. I heard somebody say something like the soul gets bored, so they want to they want to embrace the human experience, right? Okay, I can see that. Yet, going back to the suffering, why are we suffering? Why are we choosing to be less than who we're called to be? Come on, somebody. What are we surrendering for? Are we doing this for breaking generational curses? Because that's not really suffering. That's going through the battle because it needs to be broken, right? I can throw out the cartoon Encanto, Red Maribel. She was the generation that had to undo what was done. And it was done out of what? Fear. Come on, somebody. It was done out of fear. So why are we choosing to surrender ourselves through sacrifice, through suffering, out of fear? What are we afraid of? A lot of us don't even know our own greatness, our own value, because fear has taught us to stay in this box that somebody else built for you because they had a fear factor that they can't get out of. So they're going to live vicariously through you, but tell you what you can and cannot do because they're going to call it a law. Right? Wrong. That's not how it works. Because at the end of the day, you as a human being have what? Free will. Free will means you have the choice to take a chance to make change. And that's not my quote, so I'm going to say it again. I don't know, I forgot who wrote it. You have to make a choice to take a chance to make change, to get out of this suffering, whether it's physical suffering, whether it's emotional suffering, whether it's mental suffering. You know, I talk about in my biography that I was a winner, an overcomer of not one, but two narcissists. The first one, the ex-husband of 17 years, that was mental abuse. The second one that he paid to ruin my life with, that was emotional and a little bit of physical until I had to fight back and ancestors took over, and that's a whole book on itself. So I'm going to talk about that another time and get some proceeds because I lived that. Most people don't even live where I've lived. And I get it. Yet surrendering to your suffering is not a thing. It's not trending. Yet a lot of people are choosing to suffer and surrender that suffering, right? You have those with mental health issues. That's a trauma that has almost wiped away memory or blanked it out or just closed a book on it so you don't have to address it. And then here you are building personalities or reactions, not responses, reactions to living, right? Because here comes fear. Here comes everything outside of love to have you in a place of just looking for something else that doesn't exist. You're now creating anomalies to think that everything is okay, but in reality, at some point, that trauma is going to boil back up. You can only run from it for so long. At some point, the truth is going to come out, and you have to be able to address it in a healthy way. I always suggest to people to get healthy outlets from first off the rip, whether back in school. That's why there were extracurricular activities. There was sports. There was music. There were clubs. Something to keep your mind on a place of just releasing, right? Opposed to the streets, opposed to the promiscuity, opposed to the, let me just do something I know I shouldn't be doing just because I got free time on my hands, right? Those healthy outlets would help. And then you have the emotional health. That's a biggie. I think a lot of adults are still little children. They're just of age, so they think they're old enough. Everybody's like, I'm grown. No. We're not grown. Everybody's growing. You learn something new every day. Humble that ego so you can understand you got to surrender to that suffering, right? Surrendering means, okay, I'm laying it down. I'm not going to do that anymore. Why am I going to choose to suffer? Why? Those emotions. Why am I going to choose to blame somebody else for not doing it? And I can do it myself. I just had a situation right before I came on to the podcast, and it almost took my emotions somewhere rough. Somewhere. And I said to myself, no. We're going to transmute this negative energy into something positive. Let's come on. Let's do this podcast episode and let's make it work, right? We have to be able to coach ourselves because that's what the relationship with self is all about. That's our relationship with self-coach. We have to be able to coach ourselves when we know that our emotions are feeling some kind of way, where we know that we are not in a place where we want to be because of something we heard or something that made us feel some kind of way, something that took us out of our element, where we know that that's not how we want life to be for us, right? So I encourage you today's topic, why surrender to your suffering? Ask yourself, what am I suffering from? What am I suffering in? How did I get here? And instead of blaming somebody, take accountability to get out. Like I said, whether it's mental, emotional, and if it's clearly physical, it's in your face. There's a solution to everything. As human beings, our challenges have solutions. We just got to ask the right questions. And like I said, every time there's a no, there's a greater yes somewhere else. Keep pushing. Life is too short. If it's too easy, that means it wasn't worth it. And I hate to say it that way, yet there's something else greater coming. What's your purpose in life? You know what I'm saying? Why surrender to your suffering? All right, y'all. It's been real. I am Denise Camille. I am the Urban Love Therapist. I am the Relationship and Self Coach. Y'all can definitely book a session if y'all need to. Y'all check me out on my website, DeniceCamille.com, DENICE-CAMILLE.com. All right. Call me up, 678-667-4081, or email me at info@denise-camille.com. All right. I give thanks for y'all. Take care. Peace.